Okay, you ready now? Can I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, your guys' next project in here is surreal.
I knew it was coming.
It's fine, it's just going on the website.
Stop.
Okay, your guys' next project is surrealism. Does anybody remember what surrealism means from intro?
Super real.
Super real, hyper real, dreamlike, right? So you guys are essentially going to paint a picture using pictures. So instead of actually painting it, you're going to put different things together with your photographs, okay? So Salvador Dali, right? Like I said, if you think about surrealism, you should think about Salvador Dali. And not only did he do a lot of surrealism stuff with sculptures and paintings, but he also did some experimental stuff with photography. So
Cool.
obviously this isn't Photoshop work, this is staged for one picture, right? So he's playing a lot with like what's real and what's not. So everything here is real. So everything in your Photoshop picture is going to be real. It's just going to be put together in an unusual, dreamlike sort of way, okay? So here's a couple examples of his paintings. So obviously there's a lot of spheres here, and then if you squint down you can see there's a face in there. So there's her shoulder, there's another shoulder, there's the outline of her face, there's her eyes, eyebrows. So he plays a lot with things that are real and how he puts them together in unreal ways. So this is called Swans Reflecting Elephants. So we can see there are swans sitting on the top of the water with trees behind them. And when we look at the reflection of the swan in the tree looks like an elephant. So one thing I highly suggest doing as you get ready to start this project is peruse through Salvador Dali's work and other surrealistic artists to kind of get a feel for what's out there. Obviously, when he made this last one in 1982, a lot has changed in technology since then. So there are a lot of current surrealistic artists doing really cool things with photography. And I would just go through and pick out the things that you like and the things that you don't like and figure out what you want yours to look like. In the meantime, here are some student examples of surrealism. So when you guys are putting these together, some of the requirements for it are that all of the photographs in your image have to be your photographs, except for you get one cheat image. So if you're like, I really need a picture of a spaceship, and you don't have access to a spaceship to take a picture, you can download a picture of a spaceship offline, or a whale, or a sailing vessel. Whatever it is that you need to cheat, you can have. In the meantime, you need to start thinking about, what do I have access to? What can I take pictures of? So you've already started your portrait project, so you can use some of those possibly. You should be working on your landscape and working into that area, so you can use some of those. You did your I Spy, some of those might work. And then you might just need to go take new pictures. So I told you guys this would be in class heavy. So this is certainly something you can walk around the building and take pictures. You're gonna be using Photoshop in here. But you might have to do some homework. If you're like, I really want a picture of, and you can't access that during my period, during the day, then you need to plan on going to get that picture so you can move forward, okay? So the thing that's cool about this is she's got a black and white image of the girl sitting and looking out at the lake, and then the lake is pouring into the room. You can see the reflection here, and then the color is growing back up her legs. So how you would do that is you can put a black and white filter over the thing that you want. You can glue those together. Did anybody join images or layers together? No. So you can merge those two layers together, and then you can take the eraser tool or the art history brush, and you can go through and erase that filter off, so anywhere the filter is, it'll no longer be there. Okay, so I'm just trying to throw out things that you can do. Fish jumping out of the water in the piano. So they had to add to burnish in some areas to add some shadow on here. So the thing that you need to think about is when you take pictures from different things, the lighting is different, right? So if you put them together into one, you have to play with how dark and how light things are and where shadows are to make them feel like they belong together. Has anybody ever seen something photoshopped and they knew right away it was photoshopped? It was probably because one, they
Dude, that
didn't
was
put it
me,
out very
dude.
well, or two, they didn't establish how dark or how
Or they
light
had a
things should be and how
watermark
it
on
goes
it.
together. Jen Hyman, that does our sports posters for us, does an excellent job with Photoshop. It's hard to tell that she's taken pictures of different people at different times and put them all together. So it's a little dark, so it's kind of hard to see, but there's kind of like a mermaid-esque person sitting here. Now this would have been a photograph of somebody in the class, and her hands extended, and then she's kind of got like this braid going, and she's sending out whatever this is, magic, for this seahorse thing to explode out. But this was all built in Photoshop. I'm guessing the seahorse was the cheap picture. It might not have make you bigger. So they ended up playing with like the room, right? So here's a room with a mirror and a room and a mirror and a room and a mirror, and trying to create this depth as it goes away in space. This is when I used to use more cheap pictures.
Oh, that was really
That
cool.
was gnarly.
Dope. That's nuts.
Right?
Gnarly, dude.
Yeah, they should have painted this.
So the thing is, like, you can merge things together, you can make stencils, so like you guys have used the marquee tool so far. So you can put that over something else and use that to cut out, and then you're using it as a filter. There's other selection tools on Photoshop that you can use, like the magnetic lasso, and you can trace exactly the shape of something, and then put the outer space thing underneath there, and then copy and paste it, and then the space will be the exact shape of like the goober that you want. And then obviously the rest, like the purple hair was done with the filter, and then erased around the skin tone so that his whole face wasn't purple. Or you can stencil just the beard and add the filter, and then you can take an eraser tool and soften the edges, and then erase it so it blends.
Whoa. Whoa.
So I spent a lot of time on YouTube watching YouTube Photoshop videos to figure out how to put this all together. I know enough about the tools to be dangerous. I don't know every single thing you can do in Photoshop. That's not what I do professionally, so I don't have time to like learn every single new skill that comes out. But if you take off with Photoshop and you love it, I mean,
What?
you can, if you find something and you want to come back and show us, show us. So obviously here's a picture of one of my art tables, right? And then some library books
Yeah.
stacked, and then that was a picture of a tree they kind of photoshopped into the back. Here's one of my paint cups with birds flying out of it. Like seriously, everything on here is a picture that they took. And then I think we put a cell phone light back there to like lighten this, and then we tried to take a picture of her with the light source adder, and then we kind of burnished in the shadow and then tried to light source her in the front to make her look like it was coming through. And I said, if you're not sure where to put light and shadow, start looking up images online and see like, okay, how does that look? Or take a picture to see where you want things to go. So it's kind of like this wilderness storytelling thing. I always really like this one.
That was
Why?
the
The floating butterfly queen.
That was your favorite?
It's not my favorite.
The last one was
I really
better.
liked it.
What is that?
I really like this one too. So it's like two
Yeah.
ice fishermen, and then there's like this whale just kind of swooping down out of the
Whoa.
sky.
Flying whale?
Yeah,
Wanna
it's
be.
surrealism. So remember, that's what you're playing with here is things that are
You're
realistic,
telling me that's not
juxtaposed in unrealistic ways.
I don't know if whales flew.
Like trees in the clouds and sailboats in the grass.
Oh.
Now, I will tell you that sometimes you can get stuck on this and some things just won't work. So if you're trying to get an idea in your head and it won't come together, like, let it go. This is basically a Salvador Dali painting that was they recreated using Photoshop.
What?
That's someone in the class.
She just knows who it
And
is.
then that was the hand.
She just
And
knows
that
each
was a
person's
landscape
eyeball.
picture they taken, and then they cut out the birds that kind of look like the
Let me see your
eyelashes.
Oh yeah, that's
It's it.
He wreath up with all the balloons.
She's a clown. Whoa. Now that's the best one.
That's
There's the
awesome.
big cookie. Big cookie.
Yeah, we see
Cookie.
That's sweet.
Now, obviously, the feel of this one is very different from the feel of this one, yes?
Yeah.
The thing that I find difficult on this project sometimes is kids want to be funny, and I'm not saying they can't be funny, like this one was funny, that it was well put together. Sometimes they get so focused on funny that they're just stupid. I don't know how else to explain it, like it's like, okay, this would be fine if it was a meme on the internet, but for surrealism
Point.
painting, that doesn't really work. So don't get so caught up in trying to be funny that you lose something that looks visually interesting. Humor, absolutely, but like just straight up silliness often won't work
Like
for
that?
this. Again, these are all pictures. She just did a really nice job of layering together. Like the goose kind of fades into the bottom of this mushroom here, and then she's overlapped cobwebs on top of it. And then there's like fog, cloud things that kind of mix together. So I highly recommend layering. Layering your pictures together, the more layering you can do, the more interesting they'll be. Lauren was so fast at Photoshop that she actually ended up making 3 of these. Like I couldn't keep up with her. And again, these are all pictures she took. Just layering stuff together. Right?
Right.
I know.
You're gonna have to put your expectations super low for what I'm about to make.
The nice thing though is you can make changes really fast on this too. Keep that in mind. This isn't painting where it took you half a week to paint your nose, and then you said your nose was bad and you painted over it and you painted it again. You know what I mean? Like you can redo a nose like 5 times in here as long as you're working. This is another one that she did. We ended up like hanging it as a triptych. We put them all 3 together. But even like in the cat's eye, there's actually a butterfly in there, and then there's trees in that one. So that there's a butterfly there reflecting, and then there's like layers of pictures in the background. So if you look closer, you can see like depth. So all you would do is lower the opacity of the image, and then you can see through it to other images.
Dude, how long is this presentation, bro?
I think the
15
third
minutes.
one. Is that the third one? 4th one? Okay, I like she did 4 of them.
Probably close to 80, actually.
So the thing I would suggest is try to have an idea in your mind of what you're trying to accomplish and what you want it to look like. Kids get caught a lot of times because they'll just take a background image and then they'll start trying to plunk things in there. And they just get stuck over and over and over again because they don't have a clear picture of what they want it to look like. So don't just take like your landscape image and start sticking funny things on it, or you're probably almost gonna just have to scrap it and start over again. Really have a clear idea in mind of like what kind of story you're trying to tell. There's little kids walking on the ice. They like kind of turn it into a street with the playground and the tree. So all of those trees are like the same trees over and over again.
Really?
Like layered and fogged. There's Madison floating in the water, and then there's like a map in there, and then there's a boat floating with the clock in it and the reflection there, and then there's some map stuff, and then she wanted the bottom of a lake or a pond but couldn't get a picture, so she took pictures of like the fish bowl at her home with the rocks, and then we just layered the rocks over and over and over again and like stretched them out to make it look like the bottom of a lake.
Yeah, no, that's creative.
So it's a light bulb with water in it.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
Everything about nails also.
Ooh.
Okay, just kind of.
Clocks. Oh, that's creepy.
I think this is right after the new It came out.
Big old
I'm almost sure.
Big old clocks.
Okay, balance.
So she's like running and jumping on the notes. The cat's chasing her.
It's a
So
big
there's
cat. Big old cat.
Big old cat.
So there's like a hole in the screen, and then they just added their hands to make it look like they were tearing it, and then you could see through. And they layered their handwriting over the top.
Whoa.
Trying to catch the sun.
Are you done with most information? Can I stop recording? My
Yeah.
arm's getting tired.
Yeah.
Oh my god.